Hey guys, welcome to Late Night on Base. I'm your host, Bill the Bull. Today's episode is brought to you by BTFD, a meme coin on base with a simple premise. When you see a giant red candle, don't be alarmed. Buy the effing dip. Today, we're excited to have the Poncho team on, and we got to hear from one of the core team members. Not only do we hear about what the project is and about the PFP collection that they have going on, but we also touch on some of the trials and tribulations they've had since they've launched. They've experienced many hardships, but the community has proven itself to be resilient, and they are looking forward to having massive success in the coming months. So we hope you enjoy the episode. Goof, how you doing, man? Welcome to the podcast.
I'm doing great. It's a nice warm Monday where I am, and I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Hey, we're Poncho team on. I mean, right now the market's just overall, it's just a bloodbath everywhere. But, in times when the markets aren't really, I actually don't mind when days are red like this, just because I can cut out the noise and I can focus on, interviewing teams, developers, founders, without any distractions. So super glad you're on, and yeah, you're ready to do this.
Yeah, 100%.
Let's go. So Goof, before for those, obviously the people in your community kind of know, what the Poncho team is, but for those that, are maybe hearing about Poncho for the first time, why don't you give us a brief description about what the project is?
Sure. Yeah. So it kind of resulted in myself and four of my good friends who've been in crypto for a while, thinking about it'd be really cool to launch something. We've kind of been through successful projects, not successful projects. We've been parts of teams here and there. We've all been rugged, of course. You wouldn't be in the space if it doesn't happen to you once or twice. But we thought, let's just try to make something, really fair launch and just something fun that we can kind of put out in the world and see what happens, really, because obviously you don't know what's going to happen when you first launch a token. Like, you want it to be successful, but there's hundreds, if not thousands, of tokens a day, and most don't even make it the first 24 hours. So we were excited to just give it a shot. And then Poncho itself kind of just came up of, I think, like, the cat meta was like really big. We launched at the start of March, so it was kind of a lot of we're thinking about like what's hot right now. What is there opportunity to make really cool content with? What could we do? I mean, we sort of came up with this idea, and Dynamis, who's another team member, just started like Googling cats and famous cats and stuff, just to try and get some ideas. And Poncho came up originally as Bob Barker's cat. It was named Poncho. We pretty much abandoned the Bob Barker angle pretty quickly, but we ended up just making this like adorable looking cat in a poncho. And it is one of those things where it's like, there's not much more to it other than just like, here's a cat in a poncho, and here's him doing stuff. And we've sort of just like grown from there, working with a good friend of ours as an artist to get our NFT collection out there. And then now we have a lot of the community making a lot of the art for us, which is always awesome because obviously they're invested in the project. So, they're super motivated to make cool stuff for us. So we're just really thankful that we have such a great community that's embraced, working for their bags, not just on Twitter, but even like creating content and stuff like that. So it's really just a token kind of for the people. And it kind of feels like a community takeover. Like, people come into the Telegram and ask all the time because the community and the team just like work in synchronous. And it's really just allows people to get as involved as they want to be. And with that, we're really loving like kind of how the community has taken shape kind of organically that way.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing that I did notice when checking you guys out was just, then it really just kind of resonated and stood out to me, was just how engaged, the community is. And I think for any project, and I think it's pretty clear that without community, a project will not succeed. A project's only as good as how strong their community is. The more involved they get, the more they take on, the more they become, your lieutenants, the more they become your brand ambassadors. And that's how, memes take off, right? That's the social experiment. You have a group of people who believe under a common goal, and the sky's the limit of what you can accomplish. So kudos to you guys for creating such a strong bond with the community. And I think, you guys are definitely doing it the right way. And it is cute though. The cat meta, first of all, it's a really good idea. I mean, a cat and a poncho, I mean, that's hilarious and it's just adorable. So, I think you guys did really well with that idea.
Yeah, and we thought it was like kind of unique as well. So we're obviously trying to like capture some of the meta that was happening at the time, and just from being in the space for a few cycles, like we know that dog tokens have always done well, but we were starting to see that this whole cat token thing was kind of starting to emerge early on, and it just seemed like it made sense for us to kind of do something different rather than doing like the 10,000th dog token to be made. Let's be one of the smaller kind of handful of new cat tokens. And it's been one of those things, like when you talk about the community, where that's been instrumental to, our success and getting through a lot of the things we've got through. Obviously people listening to this that are part of the community, kind of know our history, but for those who don't, like, we've been through some wild stuff. We had one of our top wallets got hacked, which was crazy, and got fished for all of his tokens, like 4% of supply. And then that person just dumped those tokens in one shot into the market, which was, really, really a tough thing to experience for us as a project and as a community. But we got through it. It took a long time to kind of consolidate and get back to the levels we were at then. But, a lot of projects that would just be game over. But the team has kept pushing, and the community hand in hand with us, and it's really helped us survive things like that are like kind of project enders for a lot of people, right? So that's, I think, a big part of our story, is just some of these really like out of left field things that have happened. Our Twitter actually got or our X, sorry, actually got suspended on the day of our all-time high. So we were hitting our all-time high. We were on a spaces with Toshi and a bunch of other big projects, and we were like, oh my god, like, this is awesome, it's happening, and we're hitting our all-time high, things are going fantastic. And then our Twitter gets suspended later that night, and that was really tough as well, because people are kind of like, well, what's going on with this project? Why aren't they on Twitter anymore? Like, why are they suspended? And that really like was tough as well. So we've had a lot of these like events that, we see a lot of projects that's kind of the end of them, or the devs just sell and leave and stuff like that happens. But we've stayed and we've grinded, and our community and especially our core like whale holders who we talk to regularly have stayed as well, and really believe in the project. And I think that's for anyone listening who's like considering running a project, is when you start to have whales, like, find out who they are and try to make communication line with them, because they're going to have questions regularly if they're invested heavily in your project. And it's really great if those people are willing to identify themselves, like, to have that open line of communication, especially when like really crazy things like that happen, and you can say, hey, listen, like, here's exactly what happened, and they can be a little bit rested, at ease, that it's not anything you're doing as a team. So we just try to be super transparent with all of our holders, of course, but like, especially with the few whales that have really come out of the woodwork, identified themselves with us. Like, they've been awesome, they're great holders, they're great community members, and we found that even our whales, most people wouldn't even know who they are, because in Telegram, like, they don't have any kind of like higher, all like any kind of like votto about them. Like, they're just another community member. They're talking to everybody, creating content. They're shilling on Twitter, like, just the same as the smallest holder is. So I think like it's a real like democracy under Poncho, and I think that's a lot of what's helping us succeed and then survive during the tough times, is that everyone feels like their voice is heard. If they're using a Poncho Pal NFT as their PFP on Twitter, we automatically follow you. The account is following you. We're liking your tweets. We're retweeting your tweets. We're interacting with you. So we really try to make sure that we reward people for sticking with us.
So would you think that, I mean, just based on what you're saying, I mean, you're correct. I mean, those, let alone one event, but two, unforeseen type events typically would, end a project, end the sentiment. And once it's ending, and once sentiment is down, it's extremely hard to recover. So the fact that you guys got through two tough events like that, and not only got through it, but are, succeeding, that's a testament to the strength of your community, and, honestly, to the core team, you and the other team members. Would you say that the biggest strength that you had during that time to get through it was the transparency to the whales and to the community, just keeping them up to date? Or what else do you think you contributed to the fact that you guys were able to get through that?
The fact that the team is, we're long time friends in real life, and have a great bond, and we've worked together in the past IRL projects and stuff like that. that really helped us, get through things like that. I think if I was working with a bunch of kind of anonymous people I didn't know, or like people that I just maybe sort of have met through the internet, people have a tendency to be able to hide behind that anonymity. Wow, that's hard to say. And they can just kind of disappear. This gets too hard. I'm just gonna dip and delete my Twitter or whatever, right? So I think the fact that we're like, we're accountable to each other, and we have been for a long time. We were always trying to talk about, what's going on, having regular team meetings, like really sort of like running it more as like a business and a company, as far as the way we organize ourselves. That's helped a lot. I mean, a lot of us on the team have all, some experience in real life, working for large companies and stuff like that too. So we kind of know how to run a project, and it's just like those same foundational understandings that you can bring into like running a crypto project as well too. So we're always communicating on a regular basis, informally, obviously as a team chat, but then we have those like sit down team meetings where if we need to figure out something, like let's make an agenda here, let's address everything on it, and let's go out and execute. And that's really helped us get through, the good times and the exciting things and have them be really successful, and also the really tough times. And we launched on March 11th. So we just had our 3-month anniversary a few days ago. And we happened to launch at the best time. Like Base was just taking off, so we rode a wave for about 2 weeks of Base just exploding, and it obviously really helped us a lot. And then, like I said, we had some unforeseen things happen in that, in the coming weeks after that, which was tough. But the even more kind of difficult piece was the layer on top of that, is that crypto kind of like took a turn for a little while there, and Base specifically, it seemed like everyone was only on Solana, and then Bitcoin started to dip, and then people start to panic, and like so the overall like broader market conditions started to really affect everything. But we just kind of kept our heads down and said, like, no matter what's going on with the price, no matter what's going on with Bitcoin, no matter what's going on with even Base as a chain, like let's just stick to our plan. Let's do everything we can to ensure success, and then in some case survivals. Some of those weeks were really bad for like even the larger projects were just getting absolutely wrecked. Like even like the Toshis and Bretts on the chain were having a tough time. So as a smaller project, you're feeling it, even more sometimes. So, for us, it was like, let's not change our approach ever. Like, it doesn't matter whether it's just a bullish sentiment or a bearish sentiment, but let's keep our heads down and keep working. And then the only thing we really did, and if anyone's listening who's like running a project or thinking about running a project, is like being flexible was a huge part of our success as well too. So we had some like really great initiatives and plans and marketing and stuff kind of like ready to go. And then the market started to take a turn, and like recognizing that there's no amount of marketing, there's no tweet, there's no, even the biggest KOLs, like it doesn't matter. They're not going to be able to outpace Bitcoin dropping like $10,000 in a week. Like it's not going to happen. Then you're not going to be able to beat, the overall market conditions. So, being able to kind of put some stuff on the back burner, and then, start to rule that out as sentiment grows more positive. That was really helpful for us too. So I think being able to be agile and make a plan and stick to it. And then also know that sometimes you're still sticking to your plan, but you might have to shuffle the order sometimes with kind of what makes sense for the moment.
I think that makes complete sense. I think the key for any project is to be flexible, and I think hard work and dedication goes a long, long way with investor sentiment, because, you can't expect a project just to overnight just be a success and just stay there. There's so many different factors. The ones that do well are the ones who are, putting their head down, getting shit done, so to say, and are flexible and understand that different conditions exist in the market. There are times when you're going to want to do more marketing because the market's hot, and you're going to put more emphasis on that to capture the attention. But then there's times when it's quiet, volume is completely low on the chain, and on those times it makes zero sense to then push, spend on marketing or KOLs or anything to do with that, where it's better to build and make more strength in the community. So understanding how cycles work, understanding the sentiment, I think it is huge. And it seems like you guys have done that very well. And I think if you continue to do that, you guys are going to continue the success that you have. To turn it on to kind of like a more personal level, though, Goof, I kind of want to get to know who you are as a person. Basically, what's your experience like in crypto? I think from an investor's point of view, I think it's important to kind of know who's behind a project as one of the core team members. The more you can share will give investors, I think, more confidence, because it seems like you're very well experienced in real life. And So if you don't mind, can you just share a little bit maybe about your crypto background and what you've done?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, obviously, I've been around crypto and aware of crypto for a while, but really last cycle was when I got deep into the waters of Web3 and crypto and NFTs and all that stuff. Like a lot of people, right? Like obviously, pandemic was going on where a lot of people had extra time on their hands, extra money on their hands, depending on what your situation was. And it was a good time to sort of explore. And that's why we saw obviously such a big boom during that time. And yeah, that was part of my entry to really getting serious about crypto and looking at things beyond just Bitcoin and Ethereum, like past cycles, and really understanding how the chain works, like learning how to read Etherscan, like really starting to understand the different token types, like how do NFTs work, like on a technical level. DeFi, I learned a lot about DeFi. I'm going to shout out Dynamis again, is another team member. He's a big DeFi utility guy, and he got me into a lot of that stuff last time. And yeah, just like understanding yield and understanding stable coins and all that stuff was really like a lot of my learning kind of during the last big bull run. And once it was over and we started to go into kind of a bearish sentiment and then eventually a bear market, I decided that I think I want to stick around and I want to take this opportunity to get to know people and be one of the faces and, well, I guess PFPs and voices that's like kind of out there meeting people and talking and commenting and showing up on spaces and stuff. And so for me, I spent a lot of the last couple of years in the bear market, like just making connections with people, joining communities, a lot of them through NFTs, which I find are a great way to meet people and make connections, and trying to kind of make my way to the founders when I can and ask them questions and kind of pick their brain and be in that conversation a little bit when I could be. And a lot of those people are, super willing to talk as long as you kind of, are economical with your time. Like they're usually busy people. So it's one of those things where like, if you have questions, write them down, ask for a specific amount of time. And most people are going to say yes. And that's just advice for anyone who's looking to try and get in someone's ear for a little bit is, if they're a really busy person running a big project, they're usually going to be cool, when a community member reaches out, but just have a really specific ask, right? Like, hey, can I talk to you for 30 minutes? What day works for you? And then sort of, do your homework before you go to that conversation, because they don't want to show up to a call and have someone just kind of humming and hawing and thinking of things on the spot. So I made a lot of connections that way. And, if people that were around at that time remember, even some of the bigger accounts you see now that have hundreds of likes on their comments and their Twitter's blowing up and they have 100,000 followers and that, like, those people were super accessible during the bear market. Like you could just DM them and most people would respond back. And, my advice once again there is, if someone's running an account with like 100,000 followers, when you're DMing them, like, don't just DM like, hey, what's up? Like actually have like hey, I'm this person. This is what I'm trying to accomplish. Like, do you mind speaking with me? Or, what do you think? Or like have a specific ask. And those people are usually more than willing to talk to you for the most part. So that was like really a lot of what the last couple of years looked like for me. It wasn't so much like investing as much because the market was going only down and you're just trying to catch a falling knife a lot of the time. So it was just like having fun with NFTs, like, buying some stuff, kind of knowing that's not still going to make money right now, but you're kind of buying a little bit into like a club that you can sort of make connections in. And if you look at like the business world, there's a lot of groups like that when you go to different cities and stuff like that, where they'll have like a commerce group where like people from different companies and small businesses and stuff will get together and have like breakfast once a month and talk about business and stuff. So I look at it that way. It's kind of like buying the NFT is like your price of admission into the group. And then you have access to all these different people that, you can definitely learn a lot from. And so for me, that's really a lot of what it was. And then sort of as we started to get more bullish, it's trying to leverage some of those relationships. And when we were launching Poncho, like reaching out to some of those people and just saying, hey, like, we're not like trying to buy KOLs or anything, but like, this is what we're doing. You've kind of known me for a bit, like check out this project I launched with my friends. And like, it was really super organic that way. And I'm happy it happened that way, because that way we didn't have like KOLs with like huge amounts of supply, just like dumping on people's heads and stuff. And we don't have this like looming fear of like, oh my God, like there's this huge wallet that this KOL has, and we never, we don't know when they're going to sell or how they're going to sell or what's going on. So I was really organic. We just had people who wanted to help genuinely because they're like, oh, cool. I know this guy. I've seen him around. Like, I'll throw some, I'll buy a little bit of this token and see where it goes. And it was actually a really cool way to launch. And we got some support from some bigger accounts. Shout out to Crypto Skull, if you know who he is. He helped us out a lot early on. And we didn't have to give him some huge, like, here's 10% of supply, dump on everyone's head. It was just like, He thought it was cool. He kind of knew who I was because we chatted a little bit over the last 2 years, and he gave us some support. And people know Crypto Skull and some of the other accounts out there. They're sort of like, they have the same audience as like a KOL would, but they don't usually just take like payments. Like they're just like more organic callers. Like they just kind of call what they've put their own money into. And those are the people that I always try to follow, because I'm like, okay, this guy's actually put their money where the mouth is. And if we get rugged, we both get rugged, rather than being like, hey, here's this project. They paid me a bunch of money to say this. And that doesn't usually end well.
Yeah, it doesn't end well, and I think audiences and investors have now understood that that's just not authentic. I think people are starting to really understand certain tweets or KOLs just are money grabs for them, and do nothing for the price or the sentiment of the project itself. I think the market has completely shifted from like a 2020 approach where the bigger KOLs, it doesn't matter if they really believed in the project or not, any tweet for them would help move the market. But now, since the market's completely saturated with different projects, investors want to see authentic tweets, authentic sentiments. You can't just buy that, right? And so the best way to do it is kind of like how you did it. Establish relationships with some of these bigger accounts. And then if you develop a rapport, they're going to want to tweet about it on their own, since you didn't pay for it or anything. It comes off as more genuine. So, for anyone listening to this who may want to start a project, I think it's important people understand that you need to start networking. I think there's a saying, your net worth is as good as your network. And that's true. Like, networking is extremely important. You want to go into it by seeing how you can help others. And if you do a good job of that and you establish a rapport, you'll receive in return. And so that's great that, you got someone of like Skull's level to kind of give some public support. And I know, no doubt, that definitely helped the project. So let me turn one more question into kind of like, well, I have two more questions before we end, because this is a really interesting chat. Okay, number one, I want to know about these PFPs. Is it a 10K collection, or, because I know you said you follow anyone who has a PFP of of the cat wearing a poncho. Can you just briefly explain like how many are in the collection?
The Poncho Pals collection actually, once again, sort of came about sort of organically. We had put it in our, like, we didn't really have a roadmap when we launched, because like I said, it was literally like, let's make this token, we'll see what happens, like, honestly. And then we sort of started thinking about it, and like once things got more serious and we started getting into the higher market cap and seeing like $10,000 buys come in, I'm like, okay, we need to like maybe formalize a little bit more of what we're thinking for the future. So we still refuse to call it a roadmap, because roadmap is really, really honestly set in stone, and we don't want to be like that. We want to be flexible. So we called it Poncho's Plan on our website, and it's got three phases. And originally we had the NFT collection as like a phase 3, like, oh, like we'll do this later on, mostly because like we weren't sure how people were going to receive it. Because a lot of times with meme coins, if you start doing other things, people get like their back up, like, whoa, this is a meme coin, why are we doing NFTs, like why are we doing utility, like what's going on? So we're like, okay, let's not freak anybody out. This is just something we want to do as kind of a celebration of community in the future. So we kind of put it off originally, just because we weren't really sure how it'd be received, and we weren't honestly really prepared to like do it right away. But obviously, once again, we had never launched an NFT collection. Luckily, I've been very blessed in having experience with great NFT builders to lean on and ask questions that really helped us get this thing scaled up quick. Because what ended up happening is the community was asking for it like regularly, like in Telegram and Spaces and stuff. Like, when are we doing this? When's this NFT collection? Like, we want to have PFPs. Like, we want to like show up as a community. And we're like, okay, well, they're literally asking for it. So I think we need to like move up the date on this NFT collection. So we talked with our artist, and he's a really great 2D and 3D digital artist, but he's not really known in like the crypto world, but his art is incredible. And the Poncho art is like scratching the surface of what this guy can do, but he's never done an NFT collection either. So I kind of had to sit down with him and explain like, hey, this is how the layers work, and this is like what happens. And we really just need you to make like the assets, and then like it's going to get generated like kind of after the fact, and it'll be all randomly generated and stuff. And we had some challenges like getting the fur on the cat's face and the hand to be the same, but somehow still being able to hold an object, because if you know how the layers work, that those layers there'd be 3 separate layers for that. And if it's randomizing them, then you'd end up with like a blue hand and like an orange face and stuff. So working around that was interesting, but we figured it out. So those little things happen. And yeah, so we finally kind of got up and running, and we launched it, and the collection itself is a 1,000 piece. And sort of our thinking was, I've seen a lot of 10K collections, and some collections that are bigger than that, and like you get a lot of similar looking PFPs that way, because honestly, like there's just not enough traits to make things interesting. So like we figured, let's make it like more interesting. So yours is like kind of like a one of one. Like there's not that many that are that similar, and that way, they're kind of more limited too. And as the project grows, there might be some opportunity for people who have these to start to see the floor price go up just because supply is so much lower. And we didn't really design it as like a money making scheme for anyone, but we figured like, if it does have an opportunity to take part in, sort of an NFT meta at some point. Like I think we're going to see an NFT kind of like movement during the bull market at some point. And I think that, people finding out that our project has this PFP and it's kind of limited could really be a great opportunity for people in the future. And so far we've pretty much seen our floor price stick around pretty much right at what our mint price was. So that's really awesome. We haven't been like destroyed down to zero or anything, because NFTs have, obviously had a rough time over the last few months. And then we've seen some people like really cherry picking rares and paying a premium for them. We just had like one of our most rare ones sold for like 0.2 ETH, which is 10 times the mint price last week. So it was really cool to see that people are collecting these. The biggest part, other than, we want people to enjoy them, we want people to collect them and trade them, is that we really wanted to see our community like show up on Twitter. And we have a lot of dedicated community members who really work hard for their bags, and they retweet and they comment and they like, and they make their own tweets kind of, shilling Poncho and that. And it's really cool when you see on a tweet and every single, Twitter tells you like, hey, 10 people liked your tweet, and every single face in that list is a Poncho Pals NFT. So it's just really like, I think to people from the outside too, it's a great kind of advertisement for the project. Like, hey, what is this cat I keep seeing? Like all these people, like hundreds of people have cats as their PFPs. Like, what is this game? And it kind of helps people discover the project too. So a really great sense of community, I guess, is what one piece is, and almost like a billboard for the project too, when you see people with this PFP. Because I know whenever I see a cool PFP on Twitter, I almost always click on it and try to figure out like, what collection is this from? Like, what is this about? Like, so I think that it's just like really organic, kind of like almost marketing for the project.
Right now for base NFTs, I actually don't even know. Do people buy base NFTs? Is it like through OpenSea, or is there a separate like site?
Yeah, I mean, they work exactly the same as Ethereum NFTs. So a lot of people just kind of default use OpenSea because they're used to using it from the last sort of like bull run. But it's available on Magic Eden as well. And Magic Eden was obviously known as kind of the sole NFT marketplace for a long time. And they really just only did Solana for a long time. And then a few months ago, they started adding other chains, and Ethereum obviously being a big part of it. So like the people at Bored Ape did like an exclusivity contract with them and started only trading on Magic Eden. So trying to obviously take one of the biggest projects and say, hey, like we're partnering with Magic Eden, like you guys should come trade here. So you can get them on Blur as well, but we really try to like promote OpenSea and Magic Eden. And Magic Eden actually launched on Base probably like a month ago, maybe a month and a half ago. And we were like one of the original projects they kind of like tapped on the shoulder of. There's about 10 or 12 of us. They said, hey, we want to launch with you. So like, we're going to have your page ready to go like day one, and we're going to feature you. So we worked with Johnny from Magic Eden, and he was a super cool dude, and he helped everything. We had a little bit of hiccups as far as how the page looked and everything right day one, but he had his team on it and they fixed it right away. And it was really cool because we got to know some of the other NFT projects. We were in like a group chat for a couple of weeks while that was getting set up. But they've been awesome supporting us. So, I mean, OpenSea never reached out to us. So if you're listening to this and you want to buy a Poncho Pal, go support Magic Eden because they supported us. But you can pretty much get them anywhere you could get like an Ethereum NFT.
You heard the man, guys. Go to Magic Eden if you want to get the Poncho NFTs. But I actually might have to, after this discussion, I might have to actually get one myself. Okay, well, I think this is time. So, everyone listening, first of all, Goof, thank you so much for your time. And for everyone listening on Spotify, please head over to YouTube. On YouTube, we will put all the links for Poncho. We'll put their Twitter, their website, and maybe their Telegram as well. So have, the social. So if you want to get all the links, please come on YouTube. Otherwise, if you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, we truly do hope you enjoy this show. And yeah, until next time, guys, this is Late Night on Base.